So we're live. All right, guys, I'd like to welcome you back to the show, the Mad Maker Show. And we have some cool stuff coming up in the weeks to come. The show is going to be pretty amazing because we're going to dig in to someone right down there that a lot of you know, some of you might not know. But for those of you visiting for the first time, I just want to mention that the show is called the Mad Maker Show, and the idea is that makers, people that create, and it could be anybody in any genre. It doesn't have to be like what we sort of do, our friends and buddies within the realm of the maker community per se. It could be anything, right? Music, I don't know, like stacking rocks and taking pictures of them along the seashore. So the idea is that, you know, people that create might not be the most stable people in the world. Maybe you are. Maybe you guys watching on the chat are pretty darn stable and grounded and stuff. But I don't think I don't think you are. I think you're pretty crazy, all of you guys. So the idea is Mad Maker, we delve into the mind of people that create and see what makes them tick. So that's for you guys that are watching this from who knows where on the internet. And for the rest of you guys, hello. So my name is Eloy, and co-host is right over there.
Hello, I'm Jamie. I'm from Britain. You can find all my stuff at JP Woodwork, or my website is jp-woodwork.com. I am 1/5 of the Makers International podcast, which you can find that at makersinternationalpodcast.com. And both are sponsored by Harnell Media. Thanks to Steve Needham at harnellmedia.com.
Awesome. Now, today we have someone that's quite mad. Javier Unzueta from Javi's Woodshop. Can you introduce yourself?
Good evening. I am Javier Unzueta from Javi's Woodshop.
So, Javi, we'll start off the interview, and I want to mention before we get into a little bit of background, I kind of want to mention where it's funny because all of us that are up here kind of met at the same time. Or no, that's not true. You met Jamie Page up. So there's a little story there. I'm gonna just tell it how I think it is, and you correct me if it's wrong. But maybe at the beginning of the year, maybe April, March.
You're wrong. I'm
wrong already?
I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. Go on, Eloy.
So Jamie Page was coming over here from England, and he stayed at Chad's house. And eventually, Mark Saunders came and picked Jamie Page up, and they went on this wild road trip across the eastern seaboard, all the way down to the Keys. But they did stop. Thankfully, I was very happy about that at my house, and they stayed over. We did some airboating and this and that. Now, the cool thing is that I had not met you in person. You had already met JP, yeah?
I had already met Jamie and Mark at I mean, we all met through Hangouts, obviously, but in person at the Atlanta show.
At the Atlanta show, you guys, yeah.
I was quite surprised he didn't pre-warn you, to be honest.
Who didn't pre-warn?
Javi. He didn't pre-warn you about me.
Well, you know, the thing is that Javi, I met him. He came over. He said, "Oh, I'd like to be there when everybody meets." So he came over, and we met for the first time here at my house. He came over, and you guys were like, "You said, oh, we don't know." You were lightning fast, dude, when you guys got here. But we all met at that time, and Javi happens to live pretty darn close to me. But long story short, that's how we. Actually, that's not how we met. We met through Jerry's Machines.
Yep. First time I was ever on a Hangout. In fact, Jerry Blakesley. Well, I was on one of the Dave Gatton shows, and in the after hangout. I mean, this is the first time I ever tried a hangout. Mark Lindsay talked me through it before the show. I got on my first hangout, and then after the show, we were there till, well, most of the guys left around midnight, and Jerry and I just stayed talking about everything and anything. And he asked me if I knew you, because obviously with 6.5 million people, Miami's such a small city that clearly I must know you. So I said no. And oddly enough, at 2:30 in the morning, much a surprise to me, he says, "Hang on a second, let me see if he's up." And you pop in, and then we're talking till 4 in the morning. So
Crazy, huh?
that was fun. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Miami's an insane place, but that's for further in the conversation, or if at all. So Javi, I want to start off with a little bit of background of you. How, just give us a little bit of a breakdown of where you're from, just a little history.
All right. Let's see where I'm from. I was born in Spain, in Barcelona, but I came here at 4 months old. So I never really knew the country I was born in, other than I'd visited a couple times since then. And grew up here, part of the tail end of the baby boomers. And I'm in in that little generation in between boomers and the X, or whatever the next generation was.
Generation X.
And I basically grew up. I call myself the TV generation because there's very few shows I didn't watch.
Did they grab you and sit you in front of the TV, turn on the dial, and let it run, and then they took off and you're standing there in front of the TV, or no?
I can't remember my earliest recollection of I do have some fond memories. Down here, there was a guy called Big Wilson years ago. I mean, big guy. And oddly enough, on a somewhat not completely unrelated story, in later years, when I was servicing my Pontiac, I actually met him in person. The man is easily 6'10" and big. They call him Big Wilson for a reason. He did the Night Owl movies. It was back then, we didn't have 24-hour television, but our local station, Channel 6, actually had movies, kind of like the Svengoolie and all that kind of those kind of shows. But all he did was play a piano. It was really cool, and he'd run 3 movies. I'd be a night owl, and I'd be watching movies till 4 in the morning, get a couple hours sleep, and go to school the next day.
So, I do know a good amount about you because we do chat and hang out. I could actually do the interview for you, but there's things that we don't know and that they don't know. So I want to ask you this: growing up here in Miami, it's quite the place. I know that your old man is a contractor and was for many years. Yeah.
Yep, he's going on 53, 54 years now, currently as a contractor.
Give us a little bit of a breakdown about that, and if that got you into, making, and just give us a little psychology behind that, history with that.
Well, like many of the makers, woodworkers, the mechanically minded people that I've met in this community, like many of us, my father taught me about mechanics. He taught me about woodworking. He taught me about carpentry. I mean, and growing up in a builder family, I could build I could do and have done every part of the building process from breaking ground to the final inspection. I mean, yeah, I'm very fond of my father. He's a very learned man and very, and it's funny, very quiet man. So I'm very unlike him in that sense.
Well, you do, you do have a lot of different, like, there's not really many things to do with electronics or building, just in the fields that we enjoy, that if I've ever mentioned, you know, you have a lot of knowledge in different fields within making. So, and although I want to get into that, or maybe we should just, no, I want to get into, before doing that, I want to ask you, lately, or since I've known you, you've been sort of focused with the CNC, and that's a whole world that I'm not a part of. I know there's names out there, people that we know, and a lot of the guys and gals in the chat and out there that work with CNC a lot. I think it's freaking fantastic. But talk to us about why you got into CNC and a little bit of that, just things that you want to share about CNC.
Part of it was natural progression of my life. I had a sign company in which I purchased a lot of different CNC equipment, like a vinyl cutter and a rotary engraver and a laser engraver. All of those, well, even a printer is basically CNC. But while a printer is CNC, you don't think of it as a CNC machine. But when you look at the inner workings of a laser engraver or a vinyl cutter, you see the three axes. And a lot of those proprietary programs, it takes a bit of a learning curve sometimes, but you get accustomed to them. And I just got interested in it partially because I needed to learn the equipment for the business, and partially because I just enjoyed it. I mean, it was just seeing a puzzle in front of my eyes and being able to take it apart and hopefully put it together with all its parts. Whatever the puzzle may be, whether it's learning a CNC or a physical puzzle or a brain teaser, has always given me an immense joy. And the problem is, like many of us, it's short lived. Once I solve the puzzle, I'm not interested in it anymore.
Very, very interesting. Yeah. So I've also seen you do what is it? A meetup with Gatton, with Drew, Ox in the Shop, Portal Woodworks. That was recently. David Jones, yep. Chad from Man yep. Crafting, and a bunch yep. of others. And yeah. Chad recently got a CNC, and he's having a blast with that.
Yep.
But you've known Gatton for how's that whole thing? How'd you with meeting Gatton and all that?
Okay.
How'd that come about?
I don't know about the rest of the YouTube community when they started, but for me, YouTube for me has always been a resource for information, a resource for entertainment. But prior to the YouTube community, YouTube, it was just, I'd search for a video, I'd see it, and I'd spend 2 or 3 years or more, many years, looking at all of your videos, not knowing your names, not following you, not just seeing the video. Sometimes I would see a video 2 or 3 times, not even realizing. It wasn't until I got into the community where I said, oh, this is Eloy's channel, and then let me see his stuff. And that led me to, and my search for a do-it-yourself CNC led me to Dave Gatton's channel. And that kind of all coincided together. And I started watching YouTube differently at that point. It was more like now it was like you watch a TV show. Rather than skip around all the channels, now I'm actually focused on one TV show, and I'll focus, et cetera, one channel. And it was just one thing after another. It led me over to Dave. We got into a conversation, and
yeah,
he I'm sorry to interrupt. He saw that I had a Cam Master. It's a more professional CNC. I mean, than because he always puts his CNC as a do-it-yourself hobbyist CNC, not a, something 10 times the cost. But he offered me a spot to tour to basically show the different features of it and all that. Because I mean, his channel and everything is all about CNC and spreading CNC knowledge, and I've always enjoyed that. That's how I met him.
And you have your CNC, and I've seen you make quite a few things in there, and now you're busting out stuff in sort of a production format. You have an enclosure behind you, and I know you built it, but you built it to keep the dust and all that.
Yeah, it's a funny story. You've heard it before, but I was trying to decide back 3 or 4 years ago. I was trying to decide between a CNC that Dave Gatton had designed and a Cam Master. And the reason I went with this one is it wasn't an issue of money for me. It was an issue of could I actually? I didn't know what I didn't know, and I didn't know that I thought I was afraid that I couldn't build it. I didn't realize how incredibly simple it was. If I knew then what I know now, I would have made a different choice. But I didn't want to build it, so I bought this one. The ironic part was when it got to the house in a 4 foot by 4 foot by 6 foot crate, and I unboxed the crate, it wouldn't fit through the door. So I had to actually take the whole thing apart to get it in here in 4 pieces and then put it back together. So in essence, I ended up not completely, but reassembling a CNC. And within a week, I built the enclosure you see behind me. I put nice bright lights, some like Walmart LED lights, so I could see. My eyes are getting old, and it's phenomenal for soundproofing and dust prevention. Mm-hmm.
So excellent. So by the way, just to pause for a second, JP, if the folks out there have any questions, they're welcome.
I have actually got a question written down. But before we do, I thought I'd just quickly run through who's over there. There's Katie Dotson, Steve Twardell, Matt Crafton, Mark Lindsay, Matt Huss, Jake Thompson, Cage Creations,
Caged,
Sterling's over there.
Sterling.
What's over there? Oh, Steve Doc's over there. Zoom Squeak. What have they said? I'm surprised you just didn't get a blowhole in the wall to get that thing in.
Who said that?
Zoom Squeak. Why not?
Okie dokie. Right, the question comes from Matt Hoss from Awesome Fun Things channel and Awesome Wood Things channel. He says, Javi, please talk about your Craftsman's Connection site. I want to learn more about it.
Well, I'm glad you asked. Crafts, I wanted to give back a little bit to the maker community, and when I first entered, I was scrambling to find YouTube channels, hangouts, events, challenges, basically all the different either meetups or get-togethers or events or everything I mentioned. And it was difficult because I had to do it through word of mouth, through different people. There was not one location. So I figured, well, let me just volunteer to slap something together for that. So I on my server, I put a website, and I try to keep it updated every week, where I've got about 500 and something YouTube channels, maker related. I've got some Facebook groups on there. I try to keep with all the current public events because there are those clubs that have their own private events as well. Those don't go up there, but anything maker related, like for instance, speaking of Matt Haas, his upcoming Makers Rock is it's a fantastic opportunity for you guys to show off your woodworking skills.
Now,
No,
let me mention that Makers Rock for a second, since you
please.
So, for you guys that have not heard of it, for I think it's maybe 2 years running, or winter summer, I'm not sure, but Ryan Bitters, Matt Haas, who else? The Woodworking Junkie, and I'm talking about
Steve Carmichael.
Steve Carmichael. Who else, dude? There was a lot.
Yeah,
Just-
there was a few others that entered as well, weren't there? Afterwards, who
There was a
did
bunch
the
of
Led Zeppelin one?
Who did? But are you talking about this past year or
Yeah, the partial. You talk about the original crew.
the original? Because we sat around and brainstormed and thought maybe we should do a thing where we create albums. And I was saying no. I think Ryan Bitters from Waylight Creations. Oh, that's another one that's said let's do it 80s theme but rock music. And now it's like rock, or it's rock throughout the years. You recreate an album with whatever materials you want, and it's bad to the bone. A lot of makers. So there's one coming up this year. I forget, there was more people this year as well. This past, was it summer? I'm not sure because I didn't participate.
There was another one, wasn't there?
Oh, I missed that one. The last one I saw was a couple of the vinyl albums made it to the woodworking show, which was
It was
cool.
Mike, wasn't it, that done the Led Zeppelin?
Miter Mike did the Led Zeppelin. Did he write that? Is Miter Mike there?
No.
No, yeah, it was Miter Mike. He did Led Zeppelin 3 with the wheel that comes inside the album.
That's
and it's
it.
got
it.
Yeah. Oh, go on, Javi. You were mentioning.
With what was I mentioning?
You said
sorry,
Makers
CRS.
Rock. No, you said Makers Rock, and I just wanted to give it a plug.
Oh no, that was it. I was Makers Rock, and for any events, anytime, if anybody out there has an event now or in the future, hopefully I'll be maintaining that site as long as I can. Again, I don't want any promotion on there. I don't want any ads. I don't want anything like that. I just want raw information out to the maker community, whether it's an event or a call to arms or an action.
What's the name of the site again?
craftsmansconnection.com. That's craftsman singular with an S connection.com, as if it's apostrophe S but no apostrophe. craftsmansconnection.com.
Yeah, if you want to be on that list, just go there and say, hey, I've got a...
There's a form on the list in case you need to be added, but you're probably up there.
There's a few, or I've seen one other place that does that somewhere.
Yeah, but their site was about 2 years old. That's why I did mine.
And it's not complete at all.
No.
A lot of people, I'm not in there. That pissed me off. A lot of people aren't on that one. I guess they dropped it, or did JP? Do you know who started that site?
What one was that?
There's one out there that pops up every now and a blue moon.
It's saw something, and that it's like anything else, like any project, like any event, like any website. If you're not constantly on top of it or maintained it'll just fade away. If you maintain it, it'll grow.
I don't know, to be honest. There's a couple of other questions that just popped up that you should be quite quick to answer. Doc Hildebrandt wants to know what shade of Just for Men does Javi use?
What shade of?
Yeah, what shade of Just for Men do you use?
That would be jet black. Because it turns out that there are two things going around, two very common sayings, whatever you want to call it, going around. Well, one is, if you're a CNCer, you're not a true woodworker. So, by the way, there's an Almost a Woodworker CNC challenge coming up in February. Look for that. And the second saying is, if you don't have a beard, you're not a true woodworker. Now, my wife doesn't like beards, so normally I don't have a beard. But November, No Shave November, in support of men's health, that's the month I take off. So Thanksgiving, this comes off again. While I have it, it's gray. So
I just want to say, Javi, that the going thing is that woodworking in general. Notice I'm going to qualify that so that it's woodworking in general. You must have a beard. If you're CNC related, you should not have a beard, and you should have some sort of cap of sorts. Okay, that's the going thing.
A cap of sorts. Oh, goodness gracious.
Oh dear. And here we go again. Okay, and the next one comes from Steve Twidell. On average, how many cans of Coke do you drink each hour of the day?
3 to 4 liters daily. That's for all you European people. American, probably I don't know, a 12-pack and a half to 2 12-packs.
That's a lot.
Not too much.
All right. So, anything other, JP, before we continue?
No, that's it for now. You got a couple more people coming over. You got Rob's Woodley Summercraft, Rob Summerlin, Bales is over there now. Ox in the shop, TJ is over there now.
Yeah, Drew says no beard here. And so, he is definitely a woodworker. So
Katie Dotson is over there.
Hey, Katie.
Hey, Katie.
So to continue, Javi.
Yes.
So you have a lot of different interests, not only with the CNC, but now you're working on mostly CNC, I would say, right? Or you've focused on it lately?
Not mostly CNC. It's the big issue that I have is that I have, up until recently, I've had a lot of space and I was evenly distributed with all my different woodworking tools. But recently, I've come into some new equipment, but unfortunately, I haven't come into some new space. So I've got the equivalent of a 2-car garage and 2 1-car garage and a trailer. That's basically a big, huge tool closet where I have, you've been here, you've seen it. I have a router table with a scroll saw on top of it and a bandsaw on top of the router table. Luckily, the scroll saw fits right in the bandsaw.
See what people. So I just want to interject because it's important to say what people. So you have a series, which I freaking love because it's basically hoarding to boarding, and Javi does have throughout the years he has collected a lot of. I mean, he's got a full size vinyl cutter, not the Cricut, or not the freaking Grasshopper. Or not, he's got like a massive cast iron freaking
that's the medium one, but yes.
Right, so he's got all these machines, laser cutter in the other room. You've got 3 spaces. Can you tell us because you have 3 spaces literally, or more?
I have gone through a few businesses in my life. Some successes and some, I don't know, you can call it failures, you can call it learning experiences, you can call it near failures, whatever you call it. But each time I've kept the equipment or the fun toys. And you can't throw away a good, a good pad printer. You can't throw away a good screen printer. You can't throw away a good tile cutter. At least I can't. There are many of those tools that I use.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan. And so go for it. Plug Eloy. More. Anyway, so in short, I've amassed a number of tools, but recently, as you know, back in April, March, I don't know, February, March, or April. A friend of mine passed away, a real close friend of mine, about 6 years ago. He and I were like kindred spirits. Before I met this entire community, he was I mean, he was in choir with me, he was a ham radio operator. He enjoyed electronics, computers, woodworking galore, and a number of other things. It was a kindred spirit, and we would call each other whenever there was something really, really fascinating. Whenever I got a new tool, or he made a new box or a new tool or something, and it was fascinating. He passed away back in 2011. I wrote a nice little memorial. I didn't think anybody was listening or watching. It was his Facebook page, and he's deceased. Well, his family read it and said, Javi, look, we're going to clean out the shed. His niece inherited his house. I'm going to clean out the shed. I want to make a craft shop. Take whatever you want. The rest I'm throwing away. So I inherited a good bunch of tools, band saws, and different things that he had.
So you have, extra of certain tools.
One or two tools. It was very, very fortunate because all the tools that I was missing were the ones that I inherited, and a couple of other small ones, like the spindle sander so now I have 2 spindle sanders and a couple other little things. But for the most part, everything was, but now, and if you watch my Hoarding to Boarding series, you'll see basically it all went into a warehouse. I had to make room in the house. I finally did, but then now it had to, I didn't want to pay for a warehouse. It all came into the house, but now I don't have any room to work. It's an ongoing process.
By the way, I see Ragtime.
In answer to your original question about half an hour ago, the reason why I'm doing CNC so much is because I can't get to any of the other stuff. But yeah. I do, on occasion, work with every other machine.
I see Ragtime is out there, and give him some love. He's been recovering from an injury surgery, and he's here with us on the Mad Maker Show. He's pretty mad and insane himself, I'll tell you what. If you guys don't know Ragtime, you should. He's right there. Yeah, go check him out.
Yeah, #RagStrong.
That's funny.
So
yeah, he's a good dude.
So by the way, I'll take this opportunity to mention for you guys, next week we're going to be having Dan, the Maker Man, on the show. And that's a rare occurrence. I think only once has he appeared on an interview show. So we're going to ask him about his videoing techniques, because it's always mysterious, what the heck's going on with his brain. So keep that in mind for next week. Just wanted to plug that there. So Javi, you also have something that's going on now that it's sort of like it's a challenge, and it's pretty darn impossible. What can you explain that? Because I think it's insane, frankly.
It's a little bit insane. It's I've yet to been able to complete my own challenge, but I'm still trying. This particular challenge, it's people have done it before, and which is why it's called an almost impossible challenge, because it's not quite impossible, but it's nearly impossible, which is to just simply build a project every day, or a part of a project, and take a photo and or a video of it and put it out once a week, or the 7 once a week, or once a day. The difficult part lies in the actual recording of it. At least that's what I found. Some people, it's difficult to get out into the shop every day, and I understand that. I've been able to do a project a day, but it gets to the point that if I have to set up a camera, or I mean, granted, I could just take a photo, but if I have to set up a video camera to film this, and it's either one or the other. It's either I have fun doing my project, or I take the picture and set up the video, and so it's difficult. It's difficult to do. At the moment, we're down to about I want to say we're down to about 25 people that are putting a project a day. Because a few have dropped out already. Peter Pasuelo is way in the lead. I mean, if you've seen the videos, the video playlist, he's a CNCer from Australia, but he's also doing cabinet work and other stuff in his videos. He has consistently and daily put out anything from a short to a regular size video every day.
Last time you also did, to wrap up this whole thing, because there's a lot to get to with you, questions that I want to ask.
Yeah.
But last time you also did a totally, correct me if it's the totally useless build challenge.
Almost completely useless challenge. And that'll be coming up again, and it was so well received, it's coming up again in April, which is you build anything. It doesn't have to be, well, I said last time it was woodworking related, but I'm going to take that stipulation off the thing. Build something completely useless. And this is where the misunderstanding is. I want it completely useless. The only reason that it would be almost completely useless is because if it's so completely useless that it wins, well, it wins a prize, so it's good for something. So it's almost completely useless. I don't know if that made any sense.
So why, I've never asked you this, but why, and it's hilarious, right? Because of the, but what triggers you in your mind? You think, oh, is it something like, oh, well, let's make this very challenging and see how. I mean, what is it about it that trips you?
I want to. I like the regular challenges, the 2x4s, the scroll saw, I like all the regular challenges, or I call them regular challenges because I've seen them on a regular basis. But I was looking to do something, something that people would be inspired to do, I like to inject humor in every video that I do. I love to educate, and I love to laugh. Well, I don't like to educate. I like to educate. I'm not good at it. How's that? But I try to educate. But I like to laugh. And so I put these challenges out, hopefully to get some people sending me something funny so I can laugh at their stuff, whether it's a useless challenge or something that somebody wants to do. This particular challenge that I'm doing in November, it's an excuse. It's not really a contest. It's an excuse for everyone to get out in the shop and do some more fun stuff, or do a honey-do list, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, and connect and talk about it and create. It's kind of like, yeah, I totally see that. Hey, can you show us that plaque that says "To It" in the back?
Oh, my round to it.
What's that?
Well, it's everywhere on the internet. It's for if you've been living in a hole in the wall, or for those of you who are not woodworkers, many people often say, yeah, I'll do it when I get around to it. I'll do it when I get around to it. I'll do it when so I made myself around to it. So now I have around to it. I have no excuses. So no more excuses.
You know, and that's so applicable to me. I don't want to add, I don't know, I can't speak for Jamie Page and everyone out there in the chat. I can't speak for them, but it's always something that's prevalent, you know, in the forefront. You know, I'll get around to it, you know. So it's so cool.
Yep.
How about you, Jamie Page? Do you suffer from round to it-itis?
A lot of the time, yeah. I think so, yeah.
How about the people in the chat? I want to ask this, and honestly, like, you know, because when you start seeing that other people have that same, do you guys have that same thing? Like, you postpone, you'll get around to it eventually. Let us know. I'd like to see. You know, it'd be cool to know if Dan the Maker Man, if I can't, I don't know about Ox in the shop, you know, but do you guys have the round to it-itis? You know, I'd like to know personally.
Round to it, Itis. You got Mrs. Spock over in the chat, which is Odessa Woodworking, Al Forte.
Odessa.
Odessa, yeah, Mr. Spock himself. Ryan Bitters over in the chat. Port Woodworks, Mr. David Jones, Dan the Maker Man, or the Handyman, if you want to call him. Mr. Sterling Davis, the legend himself. Man crafting.
Pring!
He's over there as well. So yeah, he's they're all over there. Seems like the chat's going pretty slow at the moment because it's a bit behind the actual video.
Yeah.
The
Speaking of being a bit behind, my apologies to Peter. He's not Australian. I don't know why I misspoke. I do know he is a New Zealander. So,
whoa.
Oh,
yeah, that's a faux pas. I don't want to stick my foot in.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh dear,
it's-
oh dear, oh dear.
That's like calling an Englishman a Frenchman.
So Javi, I want to ask you about the businesses, and you know, a lot of us, woodworking, for instance, and this particular making, you know, the ability to, so people do things on YouTube and they get the AdSense going, and you know how difficult and slow that could be unless you have a gazillion subscribers, and yet people have this will and this forward push. That's one thing that makers have, that I've noticed. In spite of the frickin' waves crashing in, they jot forward. You've done a lot with business and different types of businesses. Are there any ideas, concepts that you can share with us, and even go back to businesses that you've had and just little tidbits, anything you'd like, if you'd like to?
Well, the difficult part about giving you an answer to that question is that social media and YouTube and the whole social media is, I would have to say, in business, I'm extremely knowledgeable. Brick and mortar, home office, whichever way you want to call it, but social media is a whole other different animal. It's to build a business in social media is there are some similarities. Networking is one of the aspects that are similar. For instance,
wait, before you, I don't mean to interrupt, but because I want to get this in.
Yeah.
Can you name off and then continue with what you're saying? Can you name off so the people know? Name off the businesses you've been involved in, like boom, 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 boom.
Yes, I can't.
A few. Just
few.
hit us. Even if they don't, you know, collate properly, just so that people have an idea of the spectrum.
My
of what
earliest business was just simple handyman business, just as far as a handyman. But I've been an IT professional. I've had a graphic artist company. So I've had construction company. Recently, I have a painting company. I have a promotional products company, and well, two, but they're two separate entities. And I have stakes in 2 or 3 small companies. But let's see, I had a sign company for 10 years. Some of the companies were construction related because I grew up in construction, and I enjoyed it. Some of them are electronics related. I had a home automation company a few years back where I would wire. I would do low voltage wiring. somewhat related to construction, but
That's where you ended up with all those rolls of freaking Cat 5.
yeah,
Because you know, when we
that
do
one lying around
hangouts,
somewhere.
we do hang out. Like Javi spent a few months going through. There was stuff in the attic, and we'd have the window open. You could see, and Javi, and there's stuff like there's things that'll make buttons, which I'm sure you all know. But he's got all
Button
these
maker.
different, like
Yeah, that
button
was
makers.
just something I did for the church. That wasn't. That was something I did for the church. I had nothing to do with any of the business, but it was fun.
You've
It's a
got your
toy.
metal. You've got a little metal. Like it designs the metal, and you do metals as well. I mean, it's
An
just
engraver. I had a trophy business, trophy and engraving. I still have all the equipment for that because there are some clients that I have kept throughout the years, just informally, and occasionally they will ask me to do something. And
so it's not till recently that you start. So the point I want to get across is that you have this long, like decade upon decade of making in different businesses and different applications, and you've just recently opened up your channel, just recently. But you have you have all this inventory of knowledge just waiting to be transferred into video as well.
I suppose, yeah. I mean, I mean, that's the fun part about YouTube. You could, it could be an informational source. It could be an entertainment source. It could be anything you want it to be.
You want it to be entertainment, though, right? You don't want it to be necessarily.
Not so much entertainment. My primary focus, I guess you could call it entertainment because it's for laughs, but laughs and education are the two things that I want for it to be primary. I want it to be able to teach something to somebody in a funny way, if at all possible, or if not, to entertain. But it's got to be fun. Bottom line, fun for them and fun for me. Because if it's not fun for either, I mean, I have a whole series of business videos. They're a little drier, but they're very educational. I try to throw an occasional joke in, but
that's the thing. That's the thing, though. With the business tips and all that, there's people searching for different things. So let's go back to the initial thing. The businesses and concepts. Maybe tips or insights that you have, and you don't have to go. If you don't want to go into that, we can continue. But I just find it that it's an area that you could be very helpful with just a little snippet of an idea or concept. If you have nothing, we can move on.
No, it depends on who you're asking the question for. Are you asking the question for a person who wants to, say, make a business out of social media, or do you want a person? Are you asking in terms of a person who wants to use social media as an advantage for his business, or are you asking the question for a person who wants to create a woodworking or a maker company, and you need? I mean. Well, I'm sorry. I have to quantify the question.
No, that's fine. So since all of us have channels and all that, so let's say the person creates on YouTube. They see that they are getting AdSense revenue, but they'd like to also expand and be able to sell on the side, but they want that revolving door of channel plus activity. What tips or concept, what could you?
Okay, I'll say this. As far as YouTube, since I'm still an incredible newbie, because I only started the channel March, I am not qualified to give information. The only observance that I will share is that getting rid of the outliers, the ones that made it big as a fluke, and the ones that haven't made it at all, even they're the good channels. If you look at the general average, my advice would be just put out good content on a regular basis. I know it seems so commonsensical, but that's all it takes. and be patient because it takes a long time. That's as far as YouTube is concerned. As far as a business, to grow your business, it's something I've said for the longest time. I'll share with you, when I first started my sign business, my first year, I had 7 people walk through my door. I thought that if I had a sign-in and trophy, if I'd have a trophy business across from a Little League park, it would bring in tons of customers. It doesn't work that way. You have to, I could create a business. Most of us can create a business, can do the technical part. Many of us can do the corporation papers part. If not, there's a lot of information out there. The hard part is the part nobody wants to do, which is the sales. Going out there and getting the customer, going out there and spreading the word, going out there to different business owners and building relationships with them so they'll send you customers and you send them customers, kind of like the community we're building on YouTube to a certain degree.
Can you talk about that a little bit? What we're doing? Can you? Because I think that you'd be more eloquent with it and more specific.
Well, yeah, I thought since we're all trying to picking on my experience in networking, because I've been in chambers of commerce and networking for in the past for a number of years, and based on that experience, I thought it would be a good idea to form a network of sorts for makers. Groups have been put together before, and they will be again. There's nothing unique or wonderful about it. So Steve Nealon and I and a few of us got together and created the Makers Media Network. And it's basically a group that of makers that and for those of you who hate the term makers, woodworkers, whatever term you want to use, that basically promote each other's channels as actively as we can without, going out of our way, and share knowledge, share information. It's things that we do on a regular basis. It's just a little bit more formal.
Go to makersmedianetwork.com. If you feel that you have something that so the idea is that everybody pushes each other like proper, with their videos and stuff, a place where you, and vice versa, if you have something to offer, if you feel that you have something to offer to the group and are willing to as well push, it's a place for that sort of thing. There's a bunch of members. Go ahead.
Whether it's collaborations, whether it's shout outs, and keeping in mind that your own content is what's going to drive your channel up no matter what. So the collaborations and shout outs are not a substitute for having actual, stuff on your page.
Jamie Page, who are the members that are in that? I know that
in the Makers Media.
Yeah.
Well, you obviously got us three. You've got Chad. There's Patrick's Workshop.
Mark Lindsay, Dave Gatton.
Dave Jones.
David Jones. Steve Nealon.
Steve Nealon. Yeah. Charles Deering.
And we're gonna forget a few. I mean, it's
obviously, and there's people joining. There's people joining every day.
Yeah, and it's based on the fact that together we're stronger than the sum of our parts individually.
Yeah, the idea it's not it's so the idea is
there's over between all of us. I'm sorry to interrupt. Between all of us at the moment, we have over 300,000, 250, 300,000 subscribers. That's collectively. So it's a big megaphone, and it's getting bigger.
Yeah, well, the idea is that we don't want necessarily large number of people, but people that would like to be helped and to help, right? Effectively, right? That have things to contribute, and people can contribute, and the group can contribute to them. So it's a good thing if you feel that sort of speaks to you. You could go and check that out. It's free to do so, and we're mentioning it because it's an effort that we're doing, and we share each other's videos and just what we do, but more concise and with that intent. So yeah. So
there's a few more guests out in the
Talk to me, Goose.
out in the chat. There's Robin Lewis, the Robin Lewis. Sean Marder's out there now. There's still some of the originals out there. Dan the Maker Man's still out there. Odessa Woodworking's out there. Matt Hoss is still out there. Mancrafting's out there. Bowles is still out there. Jay Thomas is still out there. Steve Nealon's still out there of Harnell Media.
Thanks for your support, guys.
Yeah, without doubt. Steve Twidell's still out there. Katie Donson's still out there. Zoom Squeak. I love that name.
I know.
He's still out there. So yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted to also mention, Steve from Harnell Media and we mention it in the show a lot because he's been basically the backbone inspiration, the source of many cool things, my website, and we mentioned this because it's such a, like, I've been selling, I made my shirts and I've put them up, and he designed the website and helped me get that running, and for JP too, I think. Yeah, JP.
Yes, he's done 2 for me.
And he does
one for me and one for the podcast.
He does Makers International too, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. So let me just show you guys. I'm supposed to do a video. I'm supposed to do a video of me showing off the new T-shirt, right? Because I want to market it. I've been making sales on my website, so it's cool to have a website. I'm sure most of you guys have a website, but now I'm selling these at rockinwoodworks.com, just like you see it there. And I have to make a video of this, of me sort of showing it, maybe playing some music, and I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I can't do it because I can't do it now because I'm working on stuff. But Steve Nealon made what's that?
And we're live.
What are you working on, Eloy?
Well, you go ahead and explain that because you called me. Do you want to talk about that?
If you like, yeah.
Okay, so I was prepping for this show. Actually, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. You know what the prepping is? We have the maker come on, and we try to be as natural and as, like with Javi, there's a bunch of questions still left unfinished, to be honest with you. But I was working on doing promo stuff, and Javi, I couldn't get in touch with Javi because I needed a picture of him to promo it on Facebook. And Javi says, "Hey man, we should do a fair within a week," and it's like a massive fair with thousands and thousands and thousands of people that run through. So we have the chance of actually like selling product. So now I'm hustling to get products done with a Christmas theme a little bit, and this is. But Javi, explain all that.
There is a local theme park, Christmas theme park here in Miami called Santa's Enchanted Forest. It's been around for close to 40 years. And I've been, one of the things I do is I've had a t-shirt shop there. I've had photos with a giant chair. I've had caricatures, airbrush stands, pictures with Santa Claus. I've been the and I set up the whole kiosk. Long story short, I'm quite involved, and it's become a family of sorts being over there. And because of my passion for woodworking, I thought, I don't like to turn my passions into a business, because then that just takes all the passion out of it. But in this particular case, I think I can balance the two. And I spoke to the owners of Santa's, and basically they're giving me an opportunity. We're getting a spot over there, or I'm getting a spot over there, and I basically asked Eloy if he would make some stuff, bring it on over, and it's a great opportunity for both of us to share our love of woodworking for fun and profit.
It's such a last minute thing, so I'm trying to prep for that. Javi was doing some live, I guess, hangouts from there, and the first day it was open, there's a trio of motorcyclists, and I didn't see it, but he mentioned it to us. One dude was doing, I don't know if it was a flip. What was it that he was doing actually?
Oh yeah. It was the opening day. You know how you have these motorcycle riders that jump across on a big ramp. They do all these stunts. There was a team of 3, and one of the team, apparently, I was actually there. I was present when the guy just he clipped the edge of the ramp. He busted his hip in 3 places, and it was not good. So I mean, the show must go on. They still have the other 2, busting their butt over there. But I mean, I pray for them that everything works out all right, because that's a tough thing to recover from, a broken hip when you're a stunt rider. And you hate to see that. And there are, I mean, like in any carnival, there's I've got friends out there that the circus. I've got friends there that do the without a net, they do one of these wheels that they walk on top of, and you think one little trip and that guy's falling 60, 70 feet. And that's
so. So going well, unless JP, is there anything from the chat?
Not really. They mentioned Bales mentioned that you should be Javi's elf, and I kind of agreed with that.
And I apologize. I'm sorry. I apologize personally to Mark for not looking up at the camera. I'll look at it from now on. I'm trying to get these things done, because we've got to come up with 200-300 items in a week and a half for Santa. So every waking moment.
Well, that's the thing, right? You want to bring enough product. You don't know what's going to happen, but you want to bring enough product so that if it goes good, you're actually, you've got something, right?
Right.
Isn't that the
Right.
idea? Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it would be fantastic if we sell out, but it would be bad at the same time.
Well,
So,
there's
it's like, because
also,
you think, I could have made more.
well, there's also I'd rather sell out than not. Well, I'll tell you what, I sure don't want to have gazillion Christmas knickknacks for the next 50 years.
Exactly.
So there's that, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now let me ask you this question, Javi. So there's a few questions, but I want to ask you this. When I visited, oh, by the way, when I visited, the first thing I noticed was Mark Lindsay's mug sitting up on your shelf.
Yeah.
That was it. Remember that? And it's in the video. I refilmed it.
Not the 5 of Chads.
The what? Oh,
Not the
I
five.
didn't have the 5 mugs when Eloy was here. I only had the I think I had just the one, the blue one.
well, Javi just lives, just so you guys know, Javi just lives 8 miles away. But you would think, so here it's all bullet ridden cars overturned with flames, tires in the middle stacked. Jamie Page can tell you.
Yeah, it's not Compton.
It's the hood, right? I've got cameras.
Compton.
This is Compton, but all you have to do is drive. Even the air lightens up into the beautiful, lush greens of Kendall, where he lives. Just 8 miles away, peace, tranquil people. You know the sprint runners walking across with the lattes holding on, people walking their dogs, little golf carts everywhere. It's just a beautiful experience. And over here, I'm in like the bowels of hell, literally. Isn't that a fact, Javi? Or am I exaggerating?
What? We got to have golf carts. We live next to a golf course. What do you want?
Javi's house makes Eloy's house look like Buckingham Palace.
Yeah. Well, so no, here's the question. So the question is, when I visited your house, I saw your kitchen. You tell me about the kitchen, because you didn't buy that kitchen. You made it.
No. When I first moved in back in '99, the original kitchen, for those of you who remember the '70s, because this particular house was untouched by time. The original owners were the ones that had lived here all this time, and they were pristinely clean. They never, the original mustard yellow stove. And you had three choices back then in the '70s. You had avocado green, mustard yellow, and the sunshine orange. Well, the decor matched the thing. The kitchen was yellow, and it had a darker yellow, an orange, and a red stripe across the entire kitchen, like 3 inches tall. And then it actually went through the mini blinds. Yes, mini blinds. There were mini blinds on the kitchen window, and it lined up perfectly with the. I don't know what was going through the builder's mind, but needless to say, I spent 2 weeks here before my wife moved in, and I just gutted the kitchen completely, and I built the kitchen cabinetry out of oak, and it's, well, I would say almost built, because there are still, for 17 years, and I apologize to my wife for this, 17, what it is, 18 years, 2 doors missing that haven't gotten to it, but I got around to it. So
yes. Well, it's always like that. Nothing ever seems finished for me as well. I still got around the hinges of. I added a door I changed where the door is supposed to be, the whole wall in this room, which both of you guys. So this used to be where I'm sitting now. Used to be a closet. I got rid of the closet, and there was a 90 to get into it. Well, I knocked it all down, and so I still got paint that needs to be painted in little spots, and so it's just the crown molding. So I totally, what a mess. I had another. Is there any questions in the? I don't want to. Anything happening in the chat that you could tell us?
The one and only Bill Lutz has come over to see us.
Oh, I knew that.
Yeah.
What the hell's a Lutz?
You know what? I don't know. I don't know. Jim Bashir's is over there as well.
What's up, Jimmy?
Yeah, Jim Bashir's is there. Be Happy Woodworking is over there as well.
Yeah, Be Happy.
Who else is over there? And Sean Milder said that he was in Fort Lauderdale.
Oh yeah, we're close.
By the way, I'd like to just stop for a moment and say to Mr. Brian Bales, I am quite fond of his avatar, because it reminds me of the Illudium Purex 15 explosive space modulator. I'm big fan.
Well, wait a second. So I was gonna ask, but now we have to stop because you mentioned Bales. As we're involved, all of us, in a new thing, and that's going to be on Waylight Creations channel. Ryan Bitters and Amy Bitters.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, dude, I just got a runtime error. Can you guys still see me?
I could still see you.
Okay, I don't know why my computer just terminate in an unusual way, blah, 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 whatever. If you can see me, that's good. It's a Microsoft Visual C++ runtime library error.
If you drop up, I'll pull up Google Translate so I can understand Jamie.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Just the same. So we're involved in a skit that Ryan, a show. It's sort of like Carol Burnett, but not really. Where a bunch of makers. What a way to.
Carol Burnett, except completely different.
It's like
We're
Carol Burnett.
basically poking fun at each other and the community in general.
Yeah. So Brian Bales is in it. We have Dan the Maker Man. We have, of course, Ryan Bitters, Amy, Javi's in it, JP. We have Chad from Mancrafting in it, and everybody's going to do their skits. There's some other cats involved as well. Yeah, who am I missing?
Alan the Woodworking Junkie, Al's Hack Shack,
Matt Haas.
Matt Huss. Yeah.
Yeah.
Doc.
So,
Al wants to know if there's a Harvey Korman.
Harvey Korman, is there?
Yeah. I don't know which one of you guys is I'm more of a Tim Conway, man. Not Tim Conway. Who's Tim Conway?
So
okay,
everybody's gonna have skits in it, and there's shows from last time that you can see on Waylake Creations channel. And if you're not subscribed to him, go check him out as well. So what else? What was I going to ask you? I was going to ask you about something else, but I since I diverted into this. Oh, now I know what I was going to ask you. So, Javi, apart from sort of making in the real, tangible world, physical world, you also kind of like Matt Haas in a way, but not, you do vector designs as well. Can you talk to us about that? Your Photoshop.
Touch up on it briefly. I've been a graphic artist for God knows how many years in various forms. From back when I worked in a newspaper in the graphics department, all the way up to when I had a graphics company, and so I'm very fluent in Photoshop and all the other wonderful raster and vector programs of the day. And I found myself, I usually do it these days just on a for need whenever I need to, and I found myself converting a lot of vectors for friends for CNC, and cleaning up a lot of really bad resolution logos for Chad for his cups. And I figure, well, if I'm going to be doing all of this, I might as well just throw a website together if anybody needs the services and do that. So I did that.
I did want to mention that just so that everybody knows, I was going to pause the show and wait until Odessa Al made it in, because he says he said he wouldn't he might not have been able to come on. I said, okay, Al, I will pause even if it goes to 8:30, 9. We will wait for you. And he actually made it here, so I wanted to shout him out for that. We had a good laugh earlier on Facebook while I was running around typing, purchasing at Home Depot. But that's neither here nor there. So any other questions from the chat, or are they running on their own?
Not really.
Spooning Farah, tiny braids and loots. Yeah, I think they're off on a tangent over there.
Good. So, Javi, I want to start wrapping up. So I want to ask you: are there any people that you would like to shout out? And then we'll make the rounds and shout. But are there any people that stick out that you'd like to shout out? It's up to you.
Well, let's see. the thing is, the people that I shout out are the people that are part of the community that we all, but I'll do so anyways. I love watching Matt Haas's videos. In fact, all of the our fellow makers. I'm a big fan of Frank Howarth. I can relax for hours with a Matt Cremona video. I mean, there's just so many. I can't begin to single them out. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
I
That's
just
fine.
did, I guess. But
Well, let me ask you this. I've been dying to do this throughout but I haven't jumped. But I'll jump there with you. So what's
and Brian. Oh, I mean, not Brian. Well, Brian too, but Ryan. My mind is it's late. Yeah,
So-
Ryan.
so
Ryan
Bales
from
and
Waylight.
Bitters.
I gotta mention Maker's Report because I love that. Yeah, right.
Ryan Bales and Brian Bitters.
Yeah, and Brian Bitters. There you go. Anyway, yeah, Maker's Report is just, it's phenomenal. I mean, he really busts his butt to get all that stuff out there, and I mean, sorry, I'm thinking of something else.
That's fine. That's fine. So
that Ryan's wife did once in a video, and it's just hilarious. But I'm not gonna let the cat out of the bag.
well, let me ask you. So what's your go-to music? What genre? What is it that you listen to? Curious.
I'm very eclectic because I'll listen to everything and anything. But if you were to put a gun to my head, Weird Al.
Weird Al Yankovic.
Oh yeah.
And another question, just to get this out there. What's your favorite? I know the answer to this, but I just totally. What's your favorite genre of like shows on TV and all that?
Big Bang Theory.
Well, that's not what I was expecting.
Nah, you're expecting Doctor Who, Star Trek, which are
Come
my
on.
staple.
So
And
why'd you
MASH.
hide that? Why'd you go to?
No, I'm not hiding it. I hadn't gotten to it yet. It's the big reveal after. But yes, I'm a Whovian and a Trekker and a Star Warsite, even though that's more movies than the shows. But yeah, I'm very big follower of all the Marvel series and the Marvel movies. The series like Flash, Arrow, and those things.
I don't like the Daredevil too much.
Yeah, I like it. But I mean, my favorite by far is the Flash. But anyway, but I Marvel and DC, the movies, I can't believe I haven't seen Justice League yet. I'm or is it out yet?
Can you do me a favor, Javi? Can you do me a big favor?
Yes.
No, it's not a big favor. It's just a. Do you have that Mark Lindsay mug at arm's reach?
Not at arm's reach. I believe it's in the mug cupboard.
Oh crap! Okay. I wanted to see that Mark Lindsay mug.
It's full of sawdust here.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. Is there anything else you'd like to say, Javi?
No, thank you all for watching, and I love this community. It's fantastic to be a part of it. Have fun in whatever you do.
Where could we find you? Where do you want to be found? All that.
Where do I want to be found? I want to be found in a multi-billionaire's mansion, but short of that, you can find me at javi.com, javi.com. Javi's Woodwork is my YouTube channel, and I occasionally go to on Instagram, and you can find me on Facebook. I rarely Instagram, which I should do more of, but when it gets to be fun, I'll do it.
Okay, well, listen, let me ask you this. Did you enjoy yourself?
Yeah, absolutely.
You had a good time?
Always do.
Would you come back and see us again?
Yes.
All right, awesome. I'm glad. Jamie Page.
You can find all my stuff on YouTube at wrong side, JP Woodwork. You can't find my podcast at Reclaimed Audio, but you must go and check it out because it is freaking awesome.
Heck yeah.
And my for goodness sake, my website and the Makers International podcast is sponsored by High Media.
Right on. And thank you so much. I'd like to thank Jamie Page for keeping this all together. He does such a great job, and Jamie Page, I appreciate it kindly. Your photographs and Photoshop work does balance out when you do this great job, but you do scare the heck out of us with those photographs. But I'm very appreciative of you. I'd like to thank you guys out there for coming out and visiting us. And so next week we'll have Dan the Maker Man. I'm excited to interview Dan. It's rare, right? So we'll have a good time and talk to Dan. So guys, have a great night. Thank you for watching. See you next time.